Hey everyone, Manic Ricarian here with a reading. So this is going to be a year-long reading, and I think specifically you asked me for a reading for the next year or so. So I'll just cover this last little bit of 2021 and then cover the entirety of 2022. And I have a lot of information here that I'm going to throw at you. So yeah, it'll be fun. A lot of transits and aspects. And before I get into the actual reading, I just wanted to cover the your natal chart, which I have here. I'm not going to interpret your natal chart now or anything, but I just wanted to list off a couple main areas that I was looking at in particular, or that I saw a lot of activity, that would affect parts of your natal chart over this next year. So the first is, let's just start off here by saying you were born Monday, April 1st, 1991 at 6:45 a.m. in Tartu, Estonia. And I know you are already very familiar with your chart, but I just wanted to cover this briefly anyway, just again to say kind of what I was focusing on a lot during this reading, and also just for anyone else who's watching, just kind of covering what natal chart we're looking at when we're comparing and contrasting, or seeing how the upcoming aspects and transits, how those will affect this chart in particular. This is kind of what this whole reading is based off of. So you have Sun in Aries, Moon in Scorpio, with Aries rising. And so, of course, Aries and Scorpio are two major points in your chart that, I did look at particularly for this reading. But also, you have Mercury, Sun, and Ascendant all ruled by Mars, since they're in Aries, and then you also have Moon in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars. So Mars is overwhelmingly a very strong planet in your chart. And so I did look especially at the position of Mars too, and to see, any planets in the upcoming trends that will be affecting your natal Mars placement. So your natal Mars is tucked away here at the bottom of your chart at the last degree of Gemini, conjunct the IC. So this is another point, that I looked at for this reading. And lastly, you have your midheaven at 1 degree Capricorn, and then so I use equal houses, and with equal houses, the 10th house fits pretty evenly, almost evenly with Capricorn, and there will be a lot of activity there during this reading. So, 10th house is already an important house for anyone, for all of us. It definitely affects us very strongly. But for you in particular, there will be a lot of activity here over this next year. So, that is one theme that I noticed. And I did notice a couple other major themes as well that I just wanted to kind of outline before we get into the specifics of what's going on this year. One I already mentioned, that would be the heavy activity in your 10th house. That's really affecting your career and changing your career, your reputation, how you represent yourself in the world, potentially online, or it could have to do with, you said you were at sort of a crossroads with what you're doing with your channel, I believe. So this would affect that, and again, it could also affect your line of work or your career, kind of your profession. So there's a lot of change and a lot of emphasis there, particularly at the very end of 2021, going into early 2022. There's a lot of energy affecting that area, and this will come up as well, also at the end of 2022, going into 2023. But it's especially strong just during this first part of the reading in December and January. Okay, and then the next major theme I notice is just simply that you are experiencing your Saturn return. Now, transiting Saturn has already crossed over your natal Saturn, so you've already experienced the exact aspect, and so that is done with, I guess you could say. But transiting Saturn is still in Aquarius. Your natal Saturn is in Aquarius, and transiting Saturn is still in Aquarius, and it will continue to be in Aquarius for the entirety of this reading for all of 2022. So I would say you kind of are on the back end of this transit. You have likely been very challenged in these areas over the last couple of years, so challenged to know how to represent yourself or what role you play in the world, how you fit into the group, or what groups you belong to, what kind of people you associate with. It very much has to do with networking, and also how you represent yourself online. This could have much to do with that. has to do with communication and networking, etc. So these are areas that I would expect you to have been very much challenged in over the past couple of years, but I think you have reached a turning point, and now you're continuing to experience challenges in these areas, but you are proceeding forward in a very constructive way with your sort of newfound confidence and maturity in this area. So that's just something that's happening in the background. I didn't notice a lot of aspects or transits really igniting this area or putting an emphasis on it. So it's not something that you'll hear me talk about a lot during this reading, but it is just something that's going on in the background during this entire year. Lastly, before we get into the reading, Jupiter going to Aries, I think, will be very big for you. Now, this is not something that is super, super crazy or unusual. Jupiter would enter Aries once every 12 years or so, but I do think it's a really big thing for you. You have your ascendant and your sun in Aries, almost in the same area, really, pretty close together in Aries here. So when Jupiter crosses over your ascendant and your sun, I do think this will be very big for you, very constructive, and you'll have a sort of newfound confidence there. And this happens sort of in the middle of 2022. So if I want to give just a really, really general overview, the main things I notice are that huge reconfiguration of your career and what you want to do in the world, how you want to represent yourself. That really changes at the very beginning here in December and January, especially. A little later on, you integrate that and it becomes more stable, and then you become very confident for this phase here while Jupiter is in Aries. Now it will retrograde back into Pisces, so it's something that it's kind of intermittent, I guess you could say, but there's definitely that phase as well. And to be honest, in my opinion, August, September, October is the most mellow period of this next year, I think, for you. That's not to say that a lot of activity won't happen during that time. It just won't be activity that's really like changing your life in a way, or like, I don't expect a lot of plot twists there for you in your life. But toward the end of the year, there's a little bit of increased activity as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the actual reading here. So I will show you, this dark chart is, of course, the transits. And so I think I'll just kind of bounce back and forth. I'll stay mostly looking at the transits here. But if I feel like I need to demonstrate something or just show what I'm talking about, I can go back to your natal chart here. Okay, so anyway, we start out here. Today, as I'm doing this, it's December 22nd. Real quick side note before I get into this. I know that you are in Ireland, and so the times may be slightly off here. The dates may be slightly off just because this program uses Eastern Standard Time, so I don't think the time difference is a massive difference, but I just wanted to throw that out there in case you're looking at the dates. I might have an occasional date that's one off from something you might see, but that would be the reason why. But much of the interpretation would be the same, especially in a long range reading such as this. So anyway, let's start with December 22nd today. And so a couple major themes here. You have Venus retrograde, which is very rare, very impactful, and it's about to conjoin Pluto. And this is happening in your 10th house. And we also have, just the amount of planets in your 10th house in general is a big deal as well. Venus, Pluto, Mercury, and the Sun are all in your 10th house. So all of these planets, each in their own way, are shining a spotlight on your 10th house of career, reputation, etc. Not only that, but on this day specifically, we have the Sun at 1 degree of Capricorn conjunct your midheaven. So this day right now, it just happens to be kind of a special day where I guess I like the spotlight metaphor really works well. So the sun is shining this really bright spotlight on your career. So this would potentially mark a transition of increased confidence or activity for you in your career. You might be working more or just putting more thought or time or energy into your career, your job. But it could also have to do with your online presence as well. I know you have a YouTube channel, so this may pertain much to that. With Mercury in your 10th house, you're thinking about these things a lot. With Pluto's been transiting your 10th house since, around 2008, 2009. So you've had a lot of transformation in your house of career, this entire time since then, and that continues now. But Venus retrograde in this area as well is bringing extra enjoyment, aesthetic desire in these areas. So it's making, these types of things pleasurable for you, working in your career and such. But then now that it's retrograde, it's having you rethink, are you enjoying what you're doing? And if not, how can you do it in a different way? Or is there something else that you should be doing? And you mentioned that you're at a sort of crossroads with astrology, actually. So I think this might be part of it. That there is sort of a lot of focus here. I think there's increased confidence, but there's also a need for change and transformation, which can be difficult. So generally, just a big focus on your career and and your reputation in general. A lot of change in this area, and this will continue, for this last little bit of the year here. Okay, now let's go forward. I did. There's gonna be a lot of specifics. I'm not gonna lie, but I'll try to go through kind of quickly here. So December 26th, there's a third quarter moon in Libra, and I would not normally mention a third quarter moon in such a huge reading as this, but it does aspect your planetary positions a little bit specifically or personally. So the sun is at 5 degrees Capricorn now on December 26th, and it's still within range of your midheaven, so it's still pretty much kind of conjunct your midheaven. But now the moon at 5 degrees Libra is conjunct your descendant. Your descendant is at 7 degrees Libra. So, and then of course, moon being conjunct the descendant is opposing your ascendant, and it's also within range of opposing your sun at 10 degrees Aries. So this third quarter moon, I think, is especially impacting for you because it lights up your ascendant descendant axis, and it makes this T square between your natal sun, the transiting moon, and it lights up your midheaven, your ascendant, your descendant. So I would see this as a crossroads. This would be extra. This crossroads that you've already been experiencing would only ramp up to this point here. You would experience a lot of tension, and I think on this day you might be a little bit stressed. You might feel like torn, like like a crossroads, I guess. Like there's a fork in the road, and you're not sure which way to go. I think the key with this would just be to be productive and just, I don't know, just do the best you can. I know that's kind of vague, but you have to just, get out there and work at something. And this is just part of a larger theme, like I was saying earlier. And I think this will naturally fade away in a few months. So, as much agitation and stress that you might feel around this time, where you feel conflicted or confused, you're not sure which way to go, really just do your best, and I think it's just important to get out there and work at something. You don't have to make a huge committed decision right now because I think that would be impossible. There's just so much changing right now. But I think, just I would say get out there and be productive, do something, but at the same time, don't expect yourself to know exactly what's going to happen in a long-term way or to commit to anything really because I don't think you're expected to. Right now there's just a lot of change, a lot of scattered energy, so I think it's a time of kind of integration and just going with the flow, not necessarily committing yourself to a certain track. And that will happen naturally later on. Okay, also I should just mention since the moon is conjunct the descendant, this would bring up matters with like relationships. So there you could experience this push and pull between your needs versus, maybe um, people, if you have a romantic relationship or even just non romantic relationships, people in your life, you're kind of balancing your needs versus other people's needs, strong relationships in your life may be kind of difficult to balance at just on this day here on the 26th. And then those, your needs might conflict with other people's needs in your life, and then all those might conflict with needs of your job or your career. So again, it's just kind of a push and pull. It's a little bit of conflicted energy, but this will die down. It's just the third quarter moon, so not a super big deal, but I did want to mention that. Okay, going forward to December 29th through 30th. Whoops. And let me go back to, I like to stay around noon here. Let's see. Okay, so moon is crossing over Scorpio, so it's crossing over your natal moon. So this would indicate a time of increased intuition and confidence deep down, like you really are sure of yourself on an intuitive level or a subconscious level, especially being, having moon in Scorpio, it's such a subconscious sign anyway. And then we still have these four planets in your 10th house. So I think I just marked this because I thought it would be a good time for maybe reflecting and getting a little bit of clarity on the situation with these changes to your career and your public profile and such. Moon in Scorpio, I think it just adds that little bit of confidence and intuition, and it's a very natural energy for you, of course, since you have Moon in Scorpio. So yeah, you could just gain a little bit of insight there. I think again, not nothing where you like right now. I think you might still feel a little bit in the dark because there's so much change happening. You haven't fully adjusted to it yet, but this would at least add that level of insight and clarity. Just you can kind of proceed forward and proceed with the journey or the adventure, I guess you could say. Okay, let's go forward to January 2nd. There is a new moon in your 10th house. So I think this is a major turning point where, um, I mean, there's just been such an immense change here in again, in your public profile, your reputation, maybe what you're doing online or what you're doing for work. There's been such heaviness there and intensity. And so January 2nd, I think lightens the load a little bit. It's almost like you're refreshed there, or you experience like a new beginning. So you could experience, I don't know, some kind of way of reinventing yourself, reinventing how you approach your career or your reputation, what you're doing online, some kind of rebranding or recentering. And so I think this is really nice. It just kind of, I don't know, clears the table in a way. Like you're proceeding forward in a new chapter, but at the same time, I think there's almost maybe a little bit of pressure that's taken off. It's still intense with Venus retrograde and Pluto there, and just so many planets clustered in this area here. But the new moon would be nice for just clearing things a little bit and adding that level of intuition there and starting a new chapter. Okay, and Mercury has by this time already left Capricorn and entered Aquarius, and your house cusp doesn't exactly line up with Aquarius, but I do think it marks a shift going toward your 11th house, away from your midheaven, away from the 10th house. And it's just one less planet that's clustered in the sign of Capricorn. So your thoughts may be already kind of building on what's happening and, branching off, going forward, making that transition from the 10th house, which is so focused on your career. It's a little bit immediate. It's very goal oriented, but at the same time, it's very like physically oriented, a little bit immediate, just focused on career and reputation and all that. But once Mercury's in Aquarius, I think you're starting to project a little bit forward and feel more secure in your career and what you're doing, and start to think more about your aspirations and more about those non-physical things like what kind of groups you are with and your very long-term goals, like what kind of future you want, more abstract things like that. So you're starting to make that transition here already at the beginning of January. Okay, going to January 8th, Moon enters Aries, and it is squaring the Sun, and this is a particularly restless quarter moon, and it does add some stress. But I think this would make you feel very driven. You have planet, your Sun, Mercury, and Ascendant are in Aries natally. So Moon in Aries is agreeing with those energies, and then Sun in your 10th house is still shining the light on your career, reputation, etc. So I think although this may be stressful and chaotic, I think it would embolden you and it would make you feel more confident and allow you to proceed forward in a stronger way. Okay, and this would continue through January 10th. Moon is in Aries, January 8th through 10th. And then going forward to January 11th, Moon conjoins Uranus. Now, this is just something I wanted to mention real quick here. So, you have your natal Venus at 15 degrees Taurus, and Uranus is at 10 degrees Taurus here, and it's retrograde. But it will throughout the year be approaching your Venus, and it will make a conjunction with your Venus. And this is especially lit up every time the moon crosses over this area. So it's not really within orb of your Venus yet, I would say, but it definitely will be later on. So this is just another point that we can look to later. So January 11th, I don't think this will be anything super big. It could result in some changes or realizations with maybe money, how you support yourself, or romance, a lot of like desire related things, or also just financial things. There could be some changes there. But I really just wrote this down because I just wanted to note it as something that we will really look forward to later because there'll be some major changes there later on in the year. Going forward to January 16th, Sun will conjoin Pluto at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And I just noticed this because you have your North Node at 24 degrees Capricorn. So not only, is Capricorn your 10th house, but you also have your North Node there. So it is a very important place in your chart. And having Sun conjunct Pluto so close to your North Node, I think this marks a major marker, a major point for you as well in this journey because it shows to me that you are making some kind of transformation here in your career, and that this is good for your, not only your career and what you're doing in life, but also it's your North Node stuff. So it's what you're meant to do here on a soul level. It's what you're meant to do on a karmic level. So there may be karmic events centered around January 16th. Also just um, events with themes involving you making a lot of progress in this area. I would expect. I think. Maybe really figuring out what you want to do in your career or public image. And this is especially lit up when we go just forward to January 17th because we have a full moon at 27 degrees of Cancer right there. So now I just passed it. There it is. So this lights up not only your North Node but your South Node as well. South Node is at 24 degrees Cancer. It's not indicated here, but South Node is always exactly opposite the North Node, as you know. So, having the Sun and Pluto within range of that conjunction to your North Node, and then the Moon lighting up the South Node only a few degrees away. To me, this marks some kind of, theatrical, dramatic event. This is the full moon that we're talking about here, some kind of culmination, but it has to do with the channeling of your IC, which is on the other side of Cancer, but it's in the same area. Your IC and your South Node in Cancer. It's a channeling of that to your North Node and your midheaven. So, what I mean by that is your January 17th, you will very much be reawakened to what do you want to do on a very primitive level? What do you feel deep down in your gut or in your heart? What inspires you? What do you just feel like doing? It's almost, I want to say it's lazy, but at the same time, it's very passionate as well. What are you passionate about? What do you truly want to do? If you like theoretically or hypothetically, if you didn't have to make any sacrifices for anyone and you could just do whatever you wanted to do, what would you want to do? I think you will be especially aware of these types of things around the full moon of January 17th. And ultimately, it is this primitive yet so strong of a theme here, this gut feeling of just what you truly want to do, what you desire doing. That's what will bleed into your midheaven and your North Node. So these basic desires, basic feelings of what you want to do eventually will turn into your career and your purpose here. What are you meant to do in the world? How are you supposed to make a name for yourself? Or, what are you going to do for other people, I guess? Because all of our careers, involve providing a good or service for someone else. Like, so how are you going to improve the world? Or, how are you how are you basically, it's channeling those desires and those sort of primitive instincts, channeling those into your career, into what you're doing here. So this could maybe uh, result in some sort of change, maybe changing what you're doing, changing your YouTube channel, changing your career, or it could involve maybe having a new line of work, something like that, or just, revamping what you're already doing. But this to me would really indicate a strong potential for new energization. I don't know if that's a word, but revitalization of these areas for you. Let's go forward to January 18th. Um, Moon also just passes over Jupiter right after that. So that's also, just leading to expansion for you as well. And January 20th, Sun enters Aquarius, and I wrote decision question mark. So yeah, this to me indicates that I think that you are less and less at a crossroads by this point. You are making up your mind. There isn't such a big cluster of planets in your 10th house anymore. They're moving into Aquarius. They're moving away from your midheaven. So you are becoming more or less aligned with a new path. And I think this is a sort of gradual process that will take a 2 to 3 months maybe or more, but less and less. I think you'll feel like you're at a crossroads less and less, and like you'll kind of naturally be aligned on this new path here. So I think the sun moving into Aquarius is just a marker for that, basically. Okay, and before I get ahead of myself, I should mention that Mercury is retrograde here. So Mercury will actually retrograde from January 13th through February 4th, and it will retrograde back from 10 degrees of Aquarius back to 24 degrees Capricorn. So this would indicate maybe revisiting things, re-looking at things. Mercury is actually going all the way back to your north node, exactly, so that it will retrograde backward and then station direct right on top of your north node. So this is just one more thing that's kind of revisiting things, re-looking at things. You're re-evaluating how you are how you are going about evolving, basically, what path you're on. So this is a very karmic thing. It has to do with your soul growth, it has to do with your career, your public image. This Mercury retrograde, I think, is a really great opportunity for rethinking these things and getting resituated back on this path that you're meant to be on. Um, I know that's a little bit vague, but North Node is hard to read just because it is so unpredictable and so karmic. But I think during this Mercury retrograde, since it is tied with your North Node, you may experience like karmic or fated events, like synchronistic events that, like the nodes to me create this sort of trippy feeling where, things happen that almost seem against all odds, but they align you on the right path to continue to grow and evolve. So basically, this Mercury retrograde, I think, is kind of resetting you back on the right track here, and it's helping to build your career and public image again as well. Oh, and then lastly, for this Mercury retrograde, so the it will station direct right on top of your North Node at 24 degrees Capricorn on February 4th, and then it will be in this post shadow until February 24th when it finally passes that 10-degree mark of Aquarius. So especially as we get into the end of February, I think you'll be very confident and very much situated. Especially, Mercury retrograde will put everything into question here with this growth in this general area here. But by the time it turns direct, and especially by the time it leaves the post shadow, you'll be very confident. You'll be bulletproof in this area, I think, because you'll have gone through all this questioning things and redoing things, relooking at this area of your life. I think you'll be very much more confident in this area. Let's go forward. So I don't have. That's really the main thing that's happening in February. So that's main thing that's going on really. Let's go forward to February 25th. I should mention there's a new moon in Aquarius. I mean, it's not. super impacting you, I don't think. It's at 11 degrees Aquarius. I mean, it's sort of near your Saturn, but this is not a super bustling part of your chart, I don't think. I mean, really, you just have Saturn there. The new moon in Aquarius, I think, maybe it indicate a shift away from that heavy energy that was in your 10th house. Now, we do have four planets back in the 10th house. Pluto, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. But Venus and Mars, Venus is direct at this point, and then Mars is there as well. So these are the planets of desire, motivation, attraction. So I think they're kind of bringing some excitement, some ambition, some pleasure to your 10th house. So you're enjoying what you're doing. And then meanwhile, this new moon in Aquarius is bringing a new beginning more so in your 11th house, so more thinking about your aspirations and the groups that you affiliate yourself with. So this to me looks a lot smoother than how you might be feeling at the end of December or early January, because by this time, at the very end of January going into February, I think you have become a little bit more stable in these areas and you're starting to enjoy yourself more. And especially once we get past the Mercury retrograde, then that's where you'll feel extra confident. I think you'll really know exactly what track you're on by this time. Especially here, we have Mercury crossing over your north node February 6th. So yeah, again, karmic events, fated events, synchronicities. But all of this is resulting in you really knowing exactly what direction you're supposed to be on, knowing what to do with your life, basically. Um, so yeah, very, not feeling confident with knowing what to do with your life or knowing what direction to be on December, January, but by February you definitely will. I think, and again, I think this will just happen sort of naturally. Okay, let's go to February 25th. So here, well, first, around mid-February, February 15th, we have Mercury entering Aquarius again, so it's lightening the load in your 10th house. It's a great thing, all these planets revamping your career and your public image and what you're meant to do with your life. It's a great thing, but at the same time, I almost feel relief for you every time a planet leaves Capricorn just because it is such a heavy weight. And I think things just become easier and more stable once these planets kind of enter Aquarius here. But going to February 25th, the moon comes around and it will actually enter Capricorn. And actually, I'm sorry, let's go back here. Let me just backtrack a little bit. So one thing I noticed when Venus turns direct. Okay, here we go. So Venus will turn direct and it will be slow, so Mars will actually catch up to it, and then they will be pretty much conjunct in Capricorn for most of February. So here, let's go forward a couple days. Here it really starts to happen. So you can see they're within a degree of each other. Now they're both at 15 degrees of Capricorn by February 14th. And then for the rest of February, they're all pretty much at the same degree or within 1 degree of one another, Mars and Venus. So this is very intense, I think, for everyone. But for you, it's in your house of career, public image, online activity, etc. So again, this is just bringing some really intense desire and pleasurability there. I think you're feeling ambitious at this time throughout, mid to late February, and you're getting a lot of enjoyment from what you're doing. And so to me, this is a totally different picture than where we started at the end of December. At the end of December, I think you're sort of confused. You're at this crossroads. You're not sure what to do. Everything's kind of chaotic and confusing. Now things are much more decided and it's a lot more fun. You're actually feeling ambitious and you're enjoying this. You might even be competitive in your career, but in a very enjoyable way. Venus and Mars together is such a fun dynamic, so it's really bringing this sort of fun dynamism to the table in your career. So that's it's really not only productive but also enjoyable for you. And this is just lit up even further on February 25th when the moon enters Capricorn, so it puts the focus there even more so. So now you have Pluto continuing to transform your career just like it's been doing since 2008 or 9. Mars and Venus bringing ambition, pleasure, enjoyment there, a lot of activity, and then Moon is just increasing the focus there in general. So there is, this huge focus there at the end of February, but again, it's not so heavy or confusing. I think you're very much knowing what you're doing by this point. You're knowing what you're doing with your life, much more so than December 2021. Okay. Yeah, and I just wrote, February as a whole was a huge reorientation of your career and public persona. I guess that's how I could sum that up, really. And I wrote, it will come naturally and it will be highly rewarding for you. So there you go. Let's go forward to March 2nd. We have a new moon. Oh, where'd it go? New moon at 12 degrees Pisces. And let's see. Oh, we also have Pluto, Mars, and Venus all conjunct at 27 degrees Capricorn. And we have Mercury and Saturn conjunct at 19 degrees Aquarius. Okay, so um, I guess the most impacting of these for you would be the Pluto, Mars, Venus all conjunct at 27 degrees Capricorn because again, it is pretty close to your North Node. So this would be it'd be a lot of themes that I've already sort of talked about, but it kind of come to a head on March 2nd, I guess, where you'd be extra ambitious, extra, having experiencing pleasure and enjoyment in this area, but also transformation. And this is in an area which is unusual to you, or it's not something you um, like North Node. When we experience our North Node, we are sort of out of our comfort zone, but it's in a way that's good for us. It's where we're meant to sort of grow or evolve. And so I think with this triple conjunction there, excuse me, you may feel out of your element, I guess. But at the same time, I think you're learning to embrace it more so. You're learning to embrace, having this strong public image or career, really enjoying it, being competitive in this area and embracing that transformation there. That's how I would read that. And so I think this may be something that you have been working toward for a long time, but it hasn't fully clicked with you. Again with your career, public image, online. But I think March 2nd with this conjunction, you'd feel very decisive, very much in going forward in a new direction, more so than I think ever before. So I think that would be something to be excited about for sure. And I guess I'll just really briefly cover these. I almost don't even think they're worth mentioning, but Mercury and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius would just indicate, really thinking in a kind of serious or methodical way, goal oriented way about your online interactions, but also what groups you affiliate yourself with and your role in things. This could encourage you to be a leader online or a leader with a group of people. And this kind of lights up your Saturn return. So this might be a trend that you've been dealing with for the last few years that you are just kind of thinking about in early March. And then this new moon at 12 degrees Pisces is not a super big deal. It's in your 12th house. So I would just see this as, an opportunity for increased intuition and spirituality. And this is kind of backed up by Jupiter and Neptune, which are also in Pisces, both of which are in domicile here. So this would really be a beautiful time for embracing intuition and spirituality. This to me doesn't seem like a huge life changer. And again, I almost wouldn't even mention it, but it does look like a beautiful time at the beginning of March for, kind of just reflecting or gaining that insight, gaining that spirituality, etc. Okay, I just covered a lot. Let me make sure I've got everything. Okay, so March 4th, Moon crosses over your ascendant, and Chiron's actually sitting on your sun here. So this is a very long aspect as well, so it applies to most of 2022, but I might as well mention it since the Moon and Chiron are kind of bringing it up here. That I think you have been working through some traumas and working through some, maybe past memories that have been difficult, but you've been being more expressive with those, more kind of bringing it to the forefront of your consciousness. So, Chiron in this area has been working you through this process for a couple years now, from since 2018, I believe, and it will continue to do so for the next several years. And then Moon crossing over this area just on March 4th just kind of brings us up for this couple of days or so, March 3rd, 4th, 5th. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, going to March 6th, Venus and Mars enter Aquarius, and you can see they're both pretty much conjunct still. They're both at 0 degrees Aquarius here, so that's pretty crazy. So, this I just wanted to mention because we finally only have Pluto and Capricorn. Now, again, technically, the beginning of Aquarius in equal houses would still be your 10th house, but I still think it's a big transition. Again, away from the 10th house, away from your midheaven. By March 6th, the focus is not really there anymore for you. Like, yes, Pluto is still there. Pluto is so slow, it's hardly moving at all, so it's continuing to be in your 10th house, transforming things there in a very, very gradual background kind of way. But with Venus and Mars there, I think or with Venus and Mars leaving your 10th house, I think you've really settled into a new groove, a new routine, a new foundation. The focus is not so much on your career, public image, etc. You've kind of figured that out. You've figured out where you're meant to be. So, um, you know, so it's almost like first you were confused in this area. There's like a lot of change happening. Then you were really confident in that area, really embracing it. Now by March 6th, it's just kind of normal. It's like an everyday thing. So I think that's really good. You've kind of settled into things by this point, is how I see it. And then with Venus and Mars entering Aquarius, you can think about more abstract things like, your far aspirations and again, networking and what groups you affiliate yourself with. Um, but this to me does not seem as intense or karmic just because, they're not, these planets in Aquarius aren't near your nodal axis or your midheaven. So the 11th house is not, it's not as influential of a house as the 10th house, I would say. But especially for you, since the North Node is in your 10th house, Capricorn was a really big deal for you having all those planets there. And now that this cluster is mostly in Aquarius, things are more casual for you, I would say. There's less of a pressure or a heaviness with your career and kind of what you're doing in life, the direction that you have in life. You have more or less settled down with now. Okay. Yes, I covered most of what I wanted to say there. Let's go forward to March 12th. Let's see. Moon in Cancer. Oh, that's right. Okay. So this is a little bit of a minor thing too, but I just thought it was really beautiful, so I wanted to point it out. When the moon transits through Cancer here in, mid March or so, it just trines this huge cluster of planets in Pisces. We've got Mercury, Jupiter, Sun, and Neptune all in Pisces. Pretty much your 12th house. Pisces more or less lines up with your 12th house here. And then with the moon in Cancer, which is your 4th house, and it's where your IC and your South Node are, I think this is this really beautiful connection between your intuition, your subconscious, channeling into your Cancer for you is like it's like your gut, it's like your foundation, it's your core, your IC and your South Node. It's what you're used to, it's what you're natural with. So I think this would be a really, really beautiful day for becoming aware of what's in your subconscious, becoming aware spiritually, psychically, just having things, really reflecting, gaining insight, and having these sort of intuitive messages, or maybe just messages from your past, or different sorts of information that you've integrated. All of this stuff kind of really just coming together. I think this would be a great day for having a lot of clarity, or I don't know, just gaining that kind of psychic or emotional insight. So again, this is not really life changing. It's not a huge plot twist or anything, but it's just such a beautiful thing. I think that it's worth mentioning. Now, it can be sometimes challenging having so much in your 12th house because 12th house can represent loss. The reason I think it the 12th house has to do with loss is because the 12th house is, non-physical, as you probably know. So therefore it's not physical. So it can represent a loss in the physical world. So maybe spending time alone, away from people, or I don't know, it could be a time of loss like financially, but I don't think it has to be a negative thing. It's just that, it's not the best for embracing the physical world. It's the best for embracing the non-physical, the spiritual, the um, maybe intellectual, even information. So yeah, I do think this could be really beautiful for gaining that insight or spirituality, gaining a sense of awareness, and incorporating that into the base of your personality, your core, I guess. Okay, let's go forward to March 18th. Man, this is gonna be a long video. Okay, March 18th, there is a full moon at the end of Virgo, right here. There we go. 27 degrees Virgo, and I'm not gonna list off every full moon for the entire year, but the main reason why I wanted to point this out is because it does form a T square with your Mars, which is, again, is your chart ruler, and it's a very important player in your chart. The T square is not exact, but it's about 2 degrees off, with your Mars at 29 degrees Gemini right here. So this could indicate sort of a crossroads, and you would feel stress on this day, feel torn, not sure how to make a decision. You could feel like you're not sure how to prioritize things, like there's different things seeking your attention and your time, and you're not sure how to proceed. This is not a super big deal. It's not really lighting up anything else that's been going on. I think this is mostly just applying to this day, maybe give or take a couple days or a week at the most on either side. But it could just indicate a lot of restlessness or having to make a decision at this time. So I think it is just worth highlighting that there could be some kind of adjustment that needs to be made right around March 18th. Okay, and going forward, let's go to March 25th. Right here. Okay. So we have a third quarter moon. Um, I don't know if it's worth mentioning every time there's a third quarter moon, but I think just because the sun is so close to your natal sun, the sun is pretty much conjunct your ascendant at this point. Um, and then with the moon conjunct your midheaven, the moon is only a few degrees away from your midheaven, the sun is only a few degrees away from your ascendant, and then it is a third quarter moon. So right around March 25th, this is another restless day. But it's also a day, I think, where you'd be very motivated and very assured of yourself. It could be a day of challenges, but it's a time where you would very much be more than capable of rising up to the challenge and feeling very strong here, I think. So let's see. So I guess that's the main part of what I wanted to say, really. And also, I guess just because there was so much activity in your 10th house of career at the very beginning of this year, the moon being there and squaring the sun, it might just kind of bring up some of those patterns again. So maybe things that, by this time have become very stable and, just a part of everyday life, really, at this point. Moon crossing over this area might just bring those issues up again. You might be more conscious of those areas that previously had so much change, with your career and your reputation, etc. Okay. And whoops. Let's go. I want to stay around noon time here. Let's go forward to March 28th. Sun crosses your ascendant. So this would be an important time of year every year. I think it's almost like a birthday in a way, I think. The sun crossing our ascendant. But for you, especially since you have the sun so close to your ascendant, I think things almost truly begin for you on March 28th. Like it's um, the sun, you experience well, I guess you experienced your solar return on closer to your birthday, but sun crossing ascendant is a big deal. It's just kind of a new year for you, basically. So Nothing super shocking, but definitely a new year starting for you at this time, I would think. And also just feeling newly energized and revitalized. As we approach aspects like this, it can be especially dark and heavy because it's almost like we are dying and we haven't yet been born again. But March 28th, as the sun crosses your ascendant, I think you would be sort of born again in some way. And again, this is something you would experience every year, but after March 28th, you'd have a lot more confidence and enthusiasm. Things would be more natural. You'd feel awakened, because again, it's almost like a rebirth in a way. Okay, going forward to March 31st, Sun conjoins your natal Sun. So happy birthday. I know your birthday is actually April 1st, but let's see, Sun. Yeah, but that's the exact, that's pretty much exact here. So you would actually, you'd have your, I mean, the time zone might change this as well, but it looks like you'd have your solar return maybe very late on March 31st, even though your birthday's on the 1st of April. But at any rate, this is, going into your birthday here. This would also be a new beginning as well. That's almost simultaneous with the sun crossing your ascendant since they're so close together. So this is, again, just a lot of the same themes of feeling revitalized, reawakened, having that new energy now, new confidence, new enthusiasm. Okay, April 1st is very interesting though because there's a new moon right on your birthday, right here at 11 degrees Aries. So, let's see here. Okay, so it's not exactly conjunct your sun. Your sun is at 10 degrees 55 minutes of Aries, and this looks like it's 11 degrees 29 minutes or so, halfway through the 11th degree if we or 12th degree if we want to be really specific here, of Aries. But having a new moon so close to your birthday, or it is on your birthday, but so close to your natal sun, would indicate very much a new beginning. So, this time of year would always be a new beginning for you, but having a new moon on this time of year as well be very much, very much a new beginning. So extra awakened, revitalized. This could indicate making major life changes like moving or starting a new job or starting a relationship. Really, nothing is off the table because, especially, you're in Aries as well. Aries is such a prime energy for just starting things in general. It's so inspired and so active. And having this new moon sitting right on top of your Aries sun, it's just a huge game changer, huge reawakening, and it really starts a new chapter for you. So, what type of life changes for you? I can't even really say because to me, this would just show that you're feeling extra inspired. You're entering a whole new world. So, you're, um, it's hard to explain. Like, you are looking, like, if you're into tarot, I believe you are into tarot. So, this to me would be the Fool card, or I think it's Three of Wands. I'm not as good as tarot with as I am with astrology, but I mean the Fool, is this juxtaposition of wisdom with naivete. It's like it's reached this full cycle where it realizes um, that it doesn't truly know anything, and so it just embraces the unknown, which is everything. So in a way, you would have a moment like that where you are just wise enough to realize that you actually don't know anything and therefore you can just adventure and just experience everything there is from a new set of eyes in a way. So this would very much be a rebirth and a new chapter, and it'd be very exciting. Okay, April 2nd. um, well, April 1st and April 2nd, the moon, sun, and let me rephrase this. So April 1st, the new moon is conjunct Chiron with an orb of 1 degree, and then going forward to April 2nd, Mercury approaches this conjunction. So Mercury, Chiron, and Sun are all conjunct. So again, this is bringing up your like wounds with you, emotional wounds, past traumas. A lot of this may play into this new beginning for you, and you may be making new ground in this area. So maybe things that happened in the past that you thought you had fully integrated, maybe you've kind of realized new things about those areas or gained new confidence. You've integrated these past traumas in a way that maybe you didn't think was possible. I'm really thinking that this would indicate something that you haven't been thinking about, or that was kind of buried in your subconscious, but that you've gained new consciousness in now, or that you've gained new integration with. Um, yes, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, going forward, April 4th, we can see that, Uranus is 13 degrees Taurus now. It's pretty close to your natal Venus. So every time that gets lit up, um, every time the moon crosses there and Uranus gets closer, there's increased chances of changes, sudden changes or awakening involving your desires and how you support yourself, maybe financially, sudden unexpected events in those areas. Okay, let's go forward to April 12th. Jupiter conjoins Neptune at 23 degrees of Pisces, so this is an excellent time for increased intuition and maybe like fortune, or I don't know, you might have some really wild dreams at this time, or really wild awakenings spiritually. So you could definitely look forward to that there. Going to April 15th, Mars enters Pisces. And so this leaves only Saturn in Aquarius and Pluto in Capricorn. So this is just finally really, really showing that there's not that focus in your 10th and 11th houses so much as there was before. So you become very much concrete in your career, your aspirations, your goals, the role you play in society. Saturn's still in Aquarius, but it's pretty far away from your natal Saturn now. So I like this. I think this marks, that you've become more secure, more stable, more consistent in these areas of career and your direction in life. Basically, I think you've kind of settled down very much into a routine. You know, um, Going into March, but definitely by the time we get to mid-April here. So I think Mars leaving Aquarius is just kind of um, indicates that even more so that there's no more inner planets in Capricorn or Aquarius. Okay. So, and then from April 15th through May 3rd, we have Mars, Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter all in Pisces. So now the focus is more so on your subconscious and your spirituality. So you could gain awareness there. So there'd just be increased activity there. So again, you could have wild dreams at this time, wild revelations, channeled messages, spirituality, figuring things out on a subconscious level, etc. You could also gain more, awareness of yourself, maybe gaining self-awareness during this time from April 15th through May 3rd, and specifically from April 25th through 27th, the moon will be in this area as well. So that's even crazier. April 25th through 27th, Mars, Moon, Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter all in Pisces. So, you know, really even more so just that chance for dreams, intuitive messages, spirituality, awakening. That there's such a huge emphasis on your subconscious and spirituality. Um, so yeah, this looks like an excellent time for gaining consciousness there. Moon is just putting the general focus there. Venus is bringing desire and attraction there. Mars is making you ambitious or competitive in this area. And I think Jupiter and Neptune are just adding this kind of background layer of focus there, but also um, maybe fortune there. I mean, both are very comfortable in this area, so they're just kind of boosting the intuition and subconscious awareness of everyone, but especially you, since Pisces happens to fall in your 12th house. Going forward to April 30th, we have a new moon in Taurus at 10 degrees let's go forward here. There we go. So this is not a super big deal. It just falls in your 10th house, so possibly indicating, maybe a new outlook on money or how you support yourself, or new outlook on what you desire, what you value. And it is close to your Venus. Venus again is at 15 degrees Taurus, and natally, and Uranus is at 14 degrees Taurus. There could be some really profound changes in this area as well. Between Uranus's proximity to your Venus, and then also just the new moon happening in your second house. Okay, let's go forward to May 4th. Sun conjoins Uranus at 14 degrees Taurus, so this just is kind of very similar. I think there's that potential for unexpected changes in all the same things I just listed. So your desires, how you support yourself, your values, and maybe your financial situations. It could be kind of new ideas, or increased awareness in these areas, or just unexpected changes there with the Sun Uranus conjunction. Again, so close to your Venus as well. Okay, May 11th is important. So by May 11th, Uranus has entered 15 degrees of Taurus, so it's very, very close to your Venus. I will give the date of the exact conjunction Uranus makes with your Venus in just a moment here. It's not May 11th. But May 11th, another big thing happens. Jupiter enters Aries. So, this is technically still your 12th house. Jupiter is not yet entered, or not yet crossed over your ascendant. But still, I think it's a major transition because Jupiter is in the sign of your ascendant and your sun. So it's agreeing with those energies. It's strengthening you maybe it's from the subconscious still a little bit, but it's starting to blend with your attitude and your ambitions, your energy, your ego. So you're starting to get that expansion there. And then we also have Venus at this time is conjunct your sun. So it is sort of making you appear more attractive. People are enjoying your company right now. You have a way with your words. People just kind of inexplicably enjoy your presence right now, very much so. So I think with Jupiter and Venus in Aries, it's just a very strong combination that you have this really optimistic outlook at this time, and people are just very much swayed by you. They're enamored by you right now. You're very attractive at this time, so that's great. Okay, let's see here. What else? Let's go to May 15th. May 15th, there's a full moon at 25 degrees Scorpio. And it is sort of conjunct your natal moon. I mean, your natal moon is at 3 degrees Scorpio, so it is on the other side of the sign. And this full moon is conjunct or it's not conjunct, but it's close to your Pluto. So not a super big deal. Barely worth mentioning, really, but this full moon is in your 8th house, so it could indicate you gaining debt. So I'd be careful of, you could have debt with like taxes, or 8th house is debt and taxes and what we owe money to other people, but it could also be money that's owed to us, so it would be inheritance. Um, just large amounts of money between us and other people in general. So I'd be just kind of wary of financial situations right now, just making sure everything's in check so that you're not, accruing debt at this time, because that is one manifestation of a full moon in our 8th house. But it could also just indicate a general focus of your financial situation, I guess, with this full moon lighting up your second and 8th house axis here. Going forward to May 24th, I thought it was interesting that the moon and Mars leave Pisces almost at the same time and enter Aries. And as soon as they do so on May 24th, Mars, Jupiter, Moon, Chiron, and Venus will all be in Aries. So there's this huge cluster there. So this is really putting the focus on you, with your ascendant and your sun there, you're feeling very confident this time, very energized. Venus is making you attractive. Mars is starting to make you feel very confident and ambitious, maybe a little cocky or competitive. Jupiter is making you feel. Jupiter is incorporating these themes of abundance and expansion for you in this area, and then Moon is just bringing the focus that much there as well, and making you feel kind of emotionally aware. So putting this all together is just a huge focus on your own identity and your self-expression, just feeling very confident and very outgoing in these areas. So very strong time for you with all these planets, really putting the spotlight on you, on your sun and your ascendant specifically. Okay, going forward to May 25th, this is the time of the exact conjunction between transiting Uranus with your natal Venus. So this whole time, really, I mean, May and June, Uranus will be very close to your Venus for this whole time, but specifically on May 25th, there could be those really shocking, earthquakes involving what you desire, what supports you. So this could be like a romantic relationship. It could also just be your financial situation, because when you boil it down, it's what you desire and what supports you. What you value. So most of the time that is love and money for us, but it could be anything else that you desire or that supports you in your life. There could be dramatic transformations there, transformations that either result in your increased awareness or are caused by your increased awareness. But either way, you become much more aware in these areas, and maybe just shift what you desire or what you value or how you support yourself around this time. Okay, let's go forward to June 3rd. Let me get some water. June 3rd, Mars conjoins your ascendant, so this would be a time of confidence, ambition, outgoingness, increased sex drive. So really, this is a great energy. I would think. Um, Yeah, just really, I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. I guess just a general increased confidence and enthusiasm, a general increased vitality at this time. And this would be something very visible toward other people since it's Mars is conjunct your ascendant. So people would see you as being very confident, very energetic at this time. So that's really great energy to have. And Jupiter is so close to your ascendant as well. It's just making you feel that much more optimistic and empowered as well. Let's see here. Okay, making sure I'm covering everything. June 7th, Mars makes the conjunction to your Sun, so that'd be very similar as well. Increased confidence, enthusiasm. Excuse me. Could indicate you being more physically active as well, but more energetic, more ambitious, increased sex drive, being more outgoing, more active, etc. More ambitious, more competitive, maybe, etc., etc. Having Mars's energies infusing with yours, basically. So all those kind of masculine dopamine-related themes. All right, and next we have June 13th. There is a full moon at 22 degrees Sagittarius. Full moon, I just lost it. 13, yeah, it should be 22 degrees. Looks like I'm a little bit off. 23 degrees Sagittarius. Um, and this is not, a super. I think the main reason why I wanted to write this down is because the sun is close to your chart ruler. It's close to your Mars. And the full moon is just lighting up your ninth house, and it's lighting up your third and ninth house axis. So this would be a good time for maybe learning. I think a lot of your purpose here is to learn and to integrate and then share information with your chart ruler being Mars at the end of Gemini. So this could be a really good time for that, for gaining a lot of information or just being generally very busy, like Gemini likes to be. But since the full moon is in Sagittarius ninth house, you'd be gaining, I almost want to say occult information or just, higher information, spiritual or abstract information, those those more complex concepts, etc. Like as you probably know, ninth house would be the house of religion, of church, but also of university. So it's whatever the higher knowledge is. So this could be a good time for that kind of higher learning for you. Okay, June 20th. Sun conjoins, the transiting sun conjoins your natal Mars. So this also be similar, I think. This would be maybe being more active, but also especially active, with your learning, with gaining information. Going forward to June. Looks like 21st. Well, let's see. Okay, June 20th through 22nd. Moon will be in Aries. So again, we have this Aries stellium with now 4 planets there while Moon's passing through. Mars, Chiron, Jupiter, Moon. So this again just puts the focus on your self-expression and your identity. So you're feeling very strong again with all these planets building or piled up there. Okay, and June 25th, Jupiter finally makes that conjunction with your ascendant. So it will be pretty much sitting on your ascendant from June 25th through July 2nd, and it makes the exact conjunction June 28th. So exact conjunction Jupiter right on your ascendant. So this could indicate just having a new outlook on life or experiencing access to new higher information or a new understanding of the world, new experiences which expand your soul and expand your mind. Jupiter is all about that. A Jupiter conjunct your ascendant might also result in gaining weight, maybe, and that could be a good thing or bad thing. Jupiter likes to have us overindulge, so it could be just adding a few pounds. It could also be gaining muscle mass as well because Jupiter likes to be so physically active because it influences us to experience things hands-on in the world as well. So it could be just gaining pounds from overindulging, or it could be from gaining muscle mass from being more physically active as well. But either way, Jupiter is just wanting more of everything. So it's a time of abundance for you, of excess maybe, but also a time of accessing higher information with Jupiter right on your ascendant. And all in all, I think this is a really, great aspect to have, that you would have a lot of new growth and um, new opportunities, new abundance, etc. And again, that would really be pretty present until July 2nd as well. Jupiter's still at 7 degrees Aries. Going forward to July 13th, the full moon is at 21 degrees Capricorn. So it is near your nodal axis. So again, this would be a time of channeling those instincts and those basic desires that you have, your gut feelings of what you want to do, channeling that into your career because the full moon is lighting up your south node nodal axis. And this is just necessary for resetting yourself onto the path that you're meant to be on, to attaining higher consciousness and soul growth basically. So this would be a really good time for that. Going forward to July 20th, third quarter moon in Aries conjoins your natal Mercury. Let's see. Yes, let me just go back here. I think I just thought this was interesting. So, um, here you can see the sun is at 27 degrees Cancer, and then this third quarter moon at 27 degrees Aries um, makes that square aspect. So you have your natal Mercury at 28 degrees Aries, and so this third quarter moon kind of just lights up your Mercury. So I think July 20th would just be a time of maybe restlessness for you, but also being very busy and maybe just learning a lot, maybe gathering a lot of information at this time. Going forward to July 28th, there's a new moon at 5 degrees of Leo, and it's conjunct your Jupiter at 3 degrees Leo. So, so very much just a time of new expansion and growth, basically. New expansion and growth in areas of self-expression, creative abilities, etc. Uh, yes, and oh, and it is in your fourth house, so so this could be increased expansion or maybe a new orientation of your home life, or adding on to your home, or moving into a nicer home, or making your home nicer in some way, or um, some kind of abundance with your home life, some kind of new beginning in your home life as well. And again, that's on July 28th. Let's go forward to August 1st. This is the time of year where, there's not as many dramatic things happening or changing your life, but still plenty of aspects to talk about. So August 1st, Mars North Node and Uranus will all be conjunct at 18 degrees Taurus. And so, of course, this will be in your second house and it will be close to your Venus. So, this could result in dramatic changes of your desires, values, how you support yourself, love, money. Could be just very dramatic and sudden changes there, basically, in those areas. Going forward to August 11th, we have the full moon at 19 degrees Aquarius. This would be in the 11th house, so it would just be, maybe putting the focus on how you relate with other people, networking. Um, are you a leader with a certain group of people? If you are, which I think I might suspect that you are, then this full moon would put the focus there. You're really putting your energy and your time into that area right now, and maybe making some changes, having a culmination in that area for this full moon on the 11th. Going forward to the 14th through the 16th, moon enters Aries, and sun is in Leo, so that starts all these fire trines. So this looks really nice, just in adding to your confidence and your self-expression, with moon crossing over your ascendant and sun, and then transiting sun, trining your ascendant and sun at the same time. Um, so yeah, I just want to mark this because it looks like a fun, easy time for you. It looks like a great time for increased activity and self-expression. Going forward to August 27th. Whoops. Oh, okay. I just wanted to mark this just in case, I don't know, just so you wouldn't think I forgot it maybe or something, but there is a new moon at 4 degrees Virgo, but this is one of the least eventful parts of your chart, so it's really not even worth mentioning. I guess I just wanted to mention it just so it didn't look like I forgot it, but I don't think so. This would be very personally impacting for you. Okay. Going forward into September here. September is probably the least eventful month of the year, I think. But going forward to September 10th, I believe. Yes, we do have that full moon in Pisces, so increased activity with your spirituality or your subconscious, your dreams. This is also the axis of your health, physical health, mental health. So it could be just developments there, maybe like doctor appointments. Could just good time to just check up on your mental health and make sure that you're healthy. But again, this is not a super impacting area of your chart for you, really. Okay. We will have a Mercury retrograde, so this is probably the biggest thing of this time of year because it will personally impact you. Mercury retrograde, Mercury turns retrograde September 9th at 8 degrees of Libra in your 7th house, and it will be retrograde from September 9th through October 1st, and it will go back from 8 degrees Libra back to 24 degrees Virgo. So it will cross backward over your descendant. So basically, from during this whole retrograde period from September 9th through October 1st, this to me would indicate a time where you are rethinking your relationships. So if you have a romantic relationship, then you might be rethinking how you approach that relationship, maybe going back and re-examining things, or just in general, even if you don't have that single, partnership, you could just be re-examining your relationships in general, any types of partnerships that you have at this time, kind of rethinking those, maybe even eliminating some of those, and just you know rethinking, does this work for you? Is it balanced? Are you helping these people that you have partnerships with, and are they helping you? Is this beneficial for both parties? Is it enjoyable or is it productive? Just kind of rethinking these areas for most of September, going into early October. It could also just be like rethinking how you interact with other people in general. The descendant has to do with all of this, really. It pertains to all of these matters. Um, yeah, I think that's the main focus I see here. And let's see, that's really the main thing. Mercury will eventually leave post shadow October 16th, so I'll message that here. I'll mention that here in just a few moments. But let's go forward to October 9th. We do have a full moon at 16 degrees Aries, conjunct Chiron, and it is close to your sun. It's not conjunct, but it's close to your sun, and it's a little bit close to your Mercury as well. So this would just indicate to me a lot of self-expression. It would almost be like a good party time for you, just because you'd feel so rambunctious or so outgoing, so happy-go-lucky, so spirited. This full moon would be a culmination, and it would kind of shine the light on you, so you'd just be kind of that much more active and outgoing, having a good time, etc. So just, I don't know, it looks like a really fun time for you. Let's see. Yes. Okay, great. October 10th, Mercury enters Libra, so this is sort of a transition where I think you've really rethought about how you relate to other people. Mercury hasn't yet crossed your descendant again, but it will soon. October 16th, Mercury leaves the post shadow, so let's see. And it's just kind of funny because Mercury retrograded almost exactly conjunct your descendant. That's where it started the retrograde. So now it finally crosses your descendant for one last time, and just immediately after doing so, it leaves the post shadow. So I think mid October, this concludes this new change that has been made to your relationships and how you relate to other people. Your approach to all of that, I think, is finally kind of reset, and it's going forward in a new direction, especially by October 16th. October 23rd, um, just a minor note, Sun and Venus enter Scorpio pretty much simultaneously. And so I guess this brings the focus more to your core, your deep side, your emotional side. You this would indicate maybe increased intuition or increased insight. You're thinking things through in a more strategic way or more thorough way. And we'll actually have a new moon on October 25th, which you can see here at 2 degrees Scorpio. or 1 degree Scorpio. There it is. It looks like it's actually 2 degrees. Yes, it's the very beginning of the of 2 degrees Scorpio. But this is just pretty interesting because this new moon at 2 degrees Scorpio is conjunct Venus, which is also at 2 degrees Scorpio, and then it's also conjunct your natal moon, which is at 3 degrees Scorpio. So this would be a new beginning of your emotional identity, of your core identity. It could also increase new emotional awareness, new intuitive awareness. But Venus is here, so it's making this whole process very enjoyable. So you could also just have new pleasures, new things that you enjoy at this time. All right, going forward to October 30th. Whoops. Mercury enters Scorpio as well, so this is just indicating your thinking is more so on that this new increased emotional awareness and intuition that you've found recently, I think. And then I did just mark here that from October 30th through November 16th, we have Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Scorpio, so the focus is very much there. I think this would be a very welcomed energy for you since your moon is in Scorpio, so you're feeling very much yourself at this time. You're thinking very clearly, your emotions are kind of on point. Your emotions would be extra reliable at this time, like they are a really excellent source of information just because you have a solid emotional identity and emotional awareness at this time. Your intuition and your, um, psychic abilities could be kind of boosted at this time, but also just your thoughts and feelings I think would be very on point, And I think Scorpio in particular has that excellent sense of awareness. It has that psychic ability and that emotional perception or that psychic perception, but it also has that analytical ability as well. So you already have that naturally, but with Mercury, Sun, and Venus just highlighting this area for you, I think that has just increased even more so. And with Venus crossing over your moon, that seems like a time where you're feeling nurtured and like you're enjoying yourself. So that's really good. And again, that lasts until November 16th. Um, by the 16th, then these planets have left your moon, but they're still in the same sign as your moon, so um, still kind of carrying out those same themes in a way. Okay, and then as we get to, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over something. So November 8th, there's actually this was actually a pretty big deal, so I'm sorry I skipped over it, but we have a full moon lunar eclipse at 16 degrees Taurus. Let me get to a more exact chart. There we go. Okay, there's a lot going on here. So in Scorpio we have Sun conjunct Mercury at 16 and 15 degrees Scorpio, and then we also have Venus close by at 20 degrees Scorpio, and then the three of them are all conjunct the South node, which is at 13 degrees Scorpio. And then, so I guess the four of them, I should say, are opposing this cluster here, North Node, Moon, and Uranus, all at 16. Well, Moon and Uranus are at 16 degrees Taurus. North Node is at 13 degrees Taurus. So this is a pretty, the full moon is pretty close to the nodal axis, so it's a pretty strong eclipse. And this eclipse happens to be very close to it's close to your moon and your Pluto, but it's especially close to your Venus at 15 degrees Taurus. And it's lighting up your second, eighth house axis. So this to me indicates major potential for some really big changes to your financial situation, to your debt or inheritance. You could inherit a large sum of money at this time, or you could suddenly owe a lot of money at this time. You could really change how you make money at this time or change what you're invested in. Investments could be, like stocks, that type of thing. But it could also just be like, what are you investing your time in right now? It's not just strictly financial, but how are you allocating your resources, your time, energy, money? How are you going about storing those or saving those? How are you going about making those? All of this comes into question and could suddenly change in a very dramatic way with this eclipse. And I think this would be kind of jarring because this is an area of our lives that we want to be stable. But at the same time, we have to invite that change. We have to adapt if we wish to continue to support ourselves in a changing world. And so I think that's exactly what all this is about. There could also, with this Venus influence with this new moon solar eclipse personally affecting your Venus placement, could just indicate major transformation in regarding what you value, how you support yourself, what you desire, love or money. Just a huge sudden transformation there, changes there, unpredicted events in these areas on November 8th. Excuse me. Okay. The next major event I have forgotten to mention actually starts on October 30th, um, but it extends through the rest of the year. So on October 30th, Mars will turn retrograde at 25 degrees Gemini, and it will actually stay retrograde until January 12th, 2023. And it will go retrograde from 25 degrees Gemini through 8 degrees Gemini. So most of the sign of Gemini, Mars will traverse over going retrograde. This is especially impacting for you because your chart ruler is Mars at 29 degrees Gemini. And of course, Mars in this case doesn't quite reach your natal Mars placement before it turns retrograde, but it's close enough that it has sort of a loose conjunction. So, and this is kind of a long-term thing from October 30th through January 12th. So I think during this entire time, for these 2.5 months or so, you are kind of rethinking everything. I mean, Mars is such a pivotal chart. Let me start over. Mars is such a pivotal placement in your chart. Pivotal, such a strong planet in your chart. And so having your Mars return, is of course where the transiting Mars comes to approach and conjoin your natal Mars. So this would indicate increased confidence, enthusiasm, energy, vitality, increased sex drive at this time, uh, productivity, ambition. I think I covered all the keywords for Mars, if you will. So that's what would normally happen with Mars going through Gemini, but in this case, since Mars is retrograding in this sign, this would indicate that you're rethinking your ambitions and your desires, rethinking what you're ambitious for, what turns you on, so to speak. Not just sexually, but what turns you on in life. What do you desire? What do you seek to achieve, or what do you seek to gain or capture, if you will? Mars is like the hunter or the warrior. So with your hunter or warrior energy, what do you use that for? What ignites that in you? How do you apply that, if you will? So all of this comes into question during these last months of 2022. But not only that, since Mars is your chart ruler, I think this is really a time where you're rethinking how do you access information. A lot of your chart has to do with wanting to learn and share information. So how do you do that? What information do you desire, or what information are you naturally oriented to seek? And I think this is almost just kind of a blanket placement. Like, it kind of just covers everything because, again, being your chart ruler, it does kind of rule over your chart. I think in a way you are almost a manifestation of Mars and Gemini. It's just such a strong placement for you. So this just could indicate a time where you're rethinking your identity, you're re-examining things, you're integrating a lot during this time, and you're kind of just going over how to be, I guess, in a way. I know it's very general, but I think truly it is general. I think it's just a time of kind of it's a time of changing your being, really, and reorienting yourself. And this, of course, will be a very gradual process. It's going to take these last 2 months of 2022. Okay. And I don't have anything else until November 23rd. I told you this is relatively uneventful, but there actually is a lot more activity in this last part of the year here. Whoops. Just bear with me here. Okay. November 23rd, we've got a cluster in Sagittarius. Um, so, I mean, there's a lot of clusters. It seems like I feel like there's a lot more clusters in 2022 than normal. But from November 23rd through November 25th, Mercury, Venus, Sun, and Moon will all be in Sagittarius. And on November 23rd, in particular, there's a new moon at 1 degree of Sagittarius. And let's see here. And it might be an eclipse. I believe it is a new moon solar eclipse. It's definitely not conjunct the south node. So it's not a super strong one. But it does indicate a change maybe in your finances. It is still in the eighth house. Also, could be your higher learning as well. It could indicate a new affinity for occult information. I think eighth house and ninth house kind of pertain to that to some extent. And yeah, and then just generally speaking, I just want to mark that down because having such a cluster here, it just does indicate a huge focus on Sagittarius, which is mostly your ninth house for you. So you are just really focused at this time on higher learning, basically, and attaining that wisdom or that understanding, those understandings of the universe, the higher knowledge at this time. All right, and then and this really applies to November 22nd through December 6th, because during this time from November 22nd through December 6th, Mercury, Venus, and Sun will all be in Sagittarius, so they're all kind of guiding you toward that higher learning. December 7th, let's see. December 7th, we have a full moon at 15 degrees Gemini, which is particularly interesting because it's conjunct retrograde Mars at 16 degrees Gemini. And this again, I think would personally affect you because your chart ruler is Mars, and transiting Mars is very close to your natal Mars. So, okay, so this could be some kind of culmination. I think this would bring to the focus on these changes to your identity that have been slowly unfolding over this last part of the year. I think this could be sort of a growth spurt for you, maybe really developing in some way, or especially in terms of how you access information, how you're learning, kind of re-examining the information that you've achieved, or just re-examining how you go about attaining that information. I think all of these could kind of come up right now with this full moon. Okay, and then I just wrote mid-December. We have Venus and Mercury entering your 10th house, so nothing nearly as extreme as December 2021, but December 2022, we do have Mercury and Venus kind of just indicating that the focus is again on your career and you're just thinking, so maybe you're thinking about this area more of your life, and you're also experiencing increased desire in this area of your life. So maybe just working more, spending more time, working or planning, that type of thing. Nothing really extreme. December 21st, we have Jupiter entering Aries again. So there's going to be a major time of growth and expansion later in 2023, once Jupiter approaches your ascendant and then your sun again for a final time here. But that is later on in the year, so I won't quite get to that. But even just Jupiter entering Aries on 2022, I think will increase some confidence and expansion for you. It is kind of just behind your ascendant, but still, it's almost like you have like that warm boost of confidence that's supporting you. Jupiter is kind of supporting your endeavors and allowing you to have that expansion kind of already starting to unfold at the end of December. Okay, and then December 22nd. Yes, December 22nd, Sun reaches 1 degree of Capricorn, so it conjoins your midheaven at 1 degree Capricorn. And then just after that, um, looks like on the 22nd, I believe, there's actually a new moon conjunct your midheaven at 1 degree Capricorn. Okay. And so, yeah, this isn't super life changing, but I think it would indicate a sort of new revitalization of your career, of your public profile, kind of just having a new outlook in these areas and a new approach. And, this is 5 planets that's clustered here again: Pluto, Mercury, Venus, and the Sun and Moon. So, again, there is kind of a heavy focus on your career. I don't think it's as confusing and chaotic as as it was December 2021. But again, there is that kind of focus, and it might be a little bit heavy. Things have changed a little bit. Venus isn't retrograde this time, and I don't know. I think the new moon provides just a little bit of revamping in this area, a little bit of editing. Your approach to this area of your life, but nothing too heavy. I think you're enjoying your career and your public persona at this time, and the new moon is just a nice kind of re-energizing of this area for you. Okay, and then December 28th. December 28th, Mercury turns retrograde, I believe. Let's see here. Yes. Okay. I'm not sure how I want to do this. So I'm gonna I'm gonna get back to that in just a moment. But first, I just want to talk about in a couple of days here. Well, December 29th, Moon crosses over Jupiter, and Jupiter's at that 0 degree of Aries still. So I think that's just a um, not a super big deal, but just kind of highlighting that increased confidence for you and increased expansion opportunities for you. And the last thing I'm going to talk about in this very long forecast is this Mercury retrograde period, because it is in an important place for you. So Mercury retrograde will begin on December 28th and go until January 18th, 2023. It will retrograde at 24 degrees Capricorn and go backward all the way to 8 degrees Capricorn. So pretty much just through like the gist of your 10th house, the middle of your 10th house, really. Um, it won't quite reach your midheaven, but it's retrograding through most of your 10th house here. So this is just sort of asking you to revisit and rethink your career again, making those changes and redoing your style, your approach here, maybe reorienting yourself. I still stand by what I said, and I don't think it's as intense as the December 2021 going into January 2022. But in December and January 2022 through 2023, there is that pattern of just kind of rethinking about how your career is, reorienting yourself, making some changes and adjustments there. And Mercury will turn direct on January 18th, and then it will leave post shadow on February 7th, 2023. Once it gets back to 24 degrees Capricorn again. So by February 2023, you'll definitely be very confident, very stable in your career again. And that was a lot of information, I know, but that's pretty much what I have. I hope I covered everything, but yeah, I think the main themes again would be, you know, having a lot of change and I don't know, rebranding yourself or almost having a new identity with your career and your public image in December or January 2021 through 2022, and then having that boost of confidence later in the year and really settling into a new um, pattern or new lifestyle with your career. I think I'm going through, March, and especially by April of 2022, and then um, I think also just continuing to make a lot of improvements on yourself through the end of the year in 2022 as well. But that's pretty much what I see. So let me know if you have any questions or if you'd like me to talk about anything specifically. But I'd love to continue our dialogue and just see, how this manifests for you and see how it goes. But thank you for the request. Anyone else, if you'd like a reading, just email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. But thanks for watching and thanks for this reading request. I'll talk to you later.